Hey guys, Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the new Unlimited, Prism, Limited, whatever you want to call it, the new Prism Shard system that we have got in the game, and we're going to have a look at whether or not this system is very good. Now, I want to start this video by saying I've watched a few feedback around, people saying it's a terrible system and it's really bad, and it's a slap in the face. I've seen Scratch do a video and slap in the face. And whilst I respect everyone's positions and opinions, I think there's a little bit of internal biases going on with these systems because it's assuming that everyone has these champions to some extent. Now, the one thing we want to point out here is, yes, a significant proportion of these champions were either guaranteed or fusion events. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the champions are not worth getting for a lot of people. I'm looking at this from a perspective of there's over 787 champions in the game. And of those 787, pretty much the majority of them are rare or above. And of those as well, I think around about 200 of them are epics. I think 151 of them are legendaries that are non-void. Now, obviously, there are no void legendaries or void champions in here. That's not that surprising, maybe the first one, because they're just going to see what the interest is. That doesn't mean that we won't ever get void legendaries or void normal champions in here. It's just for this particular one, they've decided there won't be any voids, right? So we can't make any judgments that this is the only thing we're going to do. We can take it on face value to say, well, maybe they probably won't. And the likelihood is they'll want to keep void legendaries exclusive to the void shards. But this system is not designed to give you the top arena meta. This system is designed for players who have started the game around about 12 to 18 months ago who can't get the really good PvE champions. We're talking the Geomancers of the world. Having a Geomancer unlocks Iron Twins, it unlocks a lot of Hydra, it unlocks a lot of different content, it unlocks a lot of bosses. I've just pulled it on my free-to-play champion. It's like pulling a legendary champion, right? So it's like pulling those types of champions. Mr. Daihi, probably the best Silver Watcher champion for the faction wars. If you're still trying to get Lydia, he would unlock that. We're talking Taragi the Frog, one of the best ally protectors. So if you're in the early to mid game, or you've only been playing for about 3 to 4 months, pulling someone like a Taragi unlocks Clan Boss for you. That is access to rewards. Ruella, one of the best Fire Knight champions, one of the best Dark Fade champions. You can use her in Clan Boss. One of the best epics in the game. So the idea of this system isn't to help the end game player like myself who has been playing for 4 years, because I'll be honest, I've got all these champions. Apart from King Galkaba, I got the guaranteed Elva. I got the guaranteed Kyoku from the training event. I got the Michinaki from the Summon Rush. I did the fusions for Brogni and Herndig. I think I summoned Kimmy, but I know she was a guaranteed. And I picked up Ruark, right? So for me, I don't really need the champions. But I also got to look at it from the sense that it's not costing you anything. This is a new way of getting champions that is not costing you anything. We don't need to sit here and create a negative spiral, how it's a terrible system, because it is what it is. And as long as we get access to these Prism Crystals from events, and those events are not a burden, then it's good. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we've just had the Spider Turn Attack tournament start today. 2 days, 23 hours, which means it's going to last the entirety of Clan versus Clan. Now, what do you do in Clan versus Clan? You run Spider. So you're going to be running Spider anyway, because you do it for points. Any sort of late to end game player, they'll run Spider 10 hard. My Spider 10 hard basically does it in 6 turns. So I'll complete this in about 1600 energy. I've got the math to basically break down. I'll probably do that in tomorrow's video, because to be honest, you shouldn't be I would advise people, don't do this until tomorrow. You're wasting energy. Just wait until CVC. This is designed to run with CVC. I'll do a breakdown tomorrow of how the turn-based rewards work so you can build a team. But essentially, I'll do this in about 1600 energy, and that gives me a free summon. And that one free summon, if we look at the odds, is basically a 40% chance that it's a Sacred Shard. Now, what do I mean by that? A Sacred Shard guarantees either an epic or a legendary. We have a 40% chance that we'll get an epic or a legendary. So it's 40% of the value of a Sacred Shard. That's the way I'm looking at it. And we get that for basically very little investment because we'll be doing Spider anyway. I understand why people might be frustrated because the available champions in this particular summon pool is not good, but the concept is great. You get 9 legendaries and I think, 12, 14, 15 epics or rares. Of those, you get a guaranteed chance to get only these champions when you pull one of these, when you open one of these Prism Shards. It's a good way of doing it because I'll be honest, I've stopped pulling shards because I'm fed up of trying to get one champion that I need And yes, okay, you can't keep the Prism Shards. I've seen that as another complaint that, well, will force me to use it. Well, it doesn't really matter, because if I don't want to engage in this particular summon pool, well, I just doesn't matter. I'll just summon them. I'll just engage in the next one. Nothing has to be hoarded for, trying to efficiency optimize it and whatever. It doesn't have to be like that, in my opinion. So in terms of the overall system, would I have liked Void Legendaries? Sure. But we don't get what we want. What I look at this as is actually it's a better implementation than I thought was going to happen. These champions, irrespective of whether you got them during the guaranteed, are good. They are worth getting. Another Michinaki, another Alva is never a bad thing. Another Brogni is never a bad thing. Trenda's lost her place a little bit, but she's still pretty good. King Galpa is a very good champion. Ruark is probably one of the only, apart from Lethelin, taunt champions that is going to work. I don't really think Dwedan is that good for Shogun. And we also have, getting a second Geomancer. It's pretty good. Now, a lot of endgame players won't want the epics. That's fine, but I'm still after Creedon. This is going to give me the better opportunity for me to get Creedon. It's the best odds. Now, when I talk about the best odds, and you may have seen this, I think Hellhades had this in his video already. So I actually pulled out all of the current numbers of champions we have. So at the moment, there's 155 non-void legendaries as of patch 7.3, the latest release, which means the chance of you getting a single champion is 0.6%. And even on a times 10, it's only a 6.1% if there is only one champion on a times 10. In this scenario, we basically have an 11% chance you will get one of those 9 champions, which is essentially a 20 times summoning event. So it is significantly better than normal summoning odds. Significantly better. That's before we've even calculated the fact you get 600% more likelihood of getting a legendary champion. On a normal Sacred Shard summon, it's 6%. Okay, if you consider like a 6%, it's like half the odds. But if you think of an Ancient Shard, it's a 0.5% chance. Essentially, you're getting a 3% chance, which is 600% more likelihood, or 300% more from a times 2 Ancient. So you're getting much better chances of getting a legendary, and then once you get the legendary, you're getting a times 20 on one of the champions. Now, if you don't want those champions in the pool, well, you just move on to the next pool. It's not a problem. If you get a bonus legendary, cool, you get a bonus legendary. It hasn't cost you anything. Now, if you go wailing for it and you don't get the champion you want, well, fair enough. But you haven't spent any money. It's an additional system that isn't costing you any sort of distractions. It's not like they're forcing you to do it. So yeah, I would just take it as I've got a really, it's a system that's going to give me better chances of getting legendary champions rather than that dupe Black Knight I got the other day from my Sacred Shards that I didn't really need, right? I wouldn't mind a duplicate of these champions in this pool. I wouldn't even mind picking up a unique Galkaba. I don't have him yet. Now, if we look at epic champions, there's 210 non-void epics in the pool, which is really hard to get some of those epics, and some of them are really good, like Geomancer, is really, really good. It's almost like pulling legendaries. So that's going to go from a 0.48% chance on a normal to a 6.67% of the 15. And so that basically means it puts it around about a times 15. And as I said, again, you would normally only have an 8% chance of getting an epic. You're going to have a 37% chance. So there's a very good chance that you're going to get an epic champion, and of that, you're going to get 6.67% chance. Now, that still means you need to roll the 37%, then the 6% to get the Geomancer, but it's far better than just rolling normal Ancients for it. Finally, we can have a look at rares here. It's 100. The only reason why I've included rares is if they decide to add some of the more desirable rares in the future, like Cold Hearts, if they do throw them in, then you can see that it's much better again, but it's not as big. It's basically as if it was on a times 10, but we've never really seen times 10 rares. So actually getting the rare that you want again is really good. So across the board, the chance of you getting the specific champion is better than any summoning event in the game. Just flat out. So I understand why people might be frustrated about what champion's available, but the model and the system itself is very, very good. Now, the question will remain, how many summons am I going to get in one event? We don't really know. We'll have to wait to see what the total accumulation is from this entire week. You've basically got 7 days, but I think the way that they've done it is you've got 1 week of event calculation. You won't be able to buy them then. If you look, there's one less day. You'll be able to buy prisms for 6 or 7 days, and then you'll have 1 day where you can spend them. Any excess prism shards, like here, I've got 30. At the end of this event, they would summon 1 and it would leave me with 10 prisms. So you're never going to lose all your prisms, but it will summon everything because it doesn't want you to hoard. So kind of makes sense. I get it. I mean, it's a new system, whatever. I don't really mind. I know some people would prefer to hoard it for the next time, but you just create more problems. This is a solution to the hoarding problem. And we've already seen that we've got one event here. You know, yes, you can get some from winning, but it's a guaranteed summon, right? You get a guaranteed summon. So if we have across the week something like 4 of these tournaments and you get 5 summons out of this pool, well, that's pretty good, I think. That means you're probably going to get on average 1 epic, right? If you think it's 33%, you need about 33, 34 summons to get a legendary on average, if you think of the averages there. Whereas the epic, you probably only need like 5. So you'll probably get on average 1 epic there. I know there's better math than that. I'm just giving you rough sort of off the top of my head maths. But yeah, do I think it's a bad system? No. Do I think the champion pool could be better? Absolutely. When they said Nazir and summons, I was like, well, they're the 2 new factions in there. So naturally, that gives you sort of new champion biases of guaranteed events times 10 events. The game generally likes to give you new champions for some reason. I don't really know why. It just feels like you get new champions. So yeah, I knew that straight away people will be complaining about the fact that there's a lack of older champions, like your Kaimars, like your Duchesses, like your really old champions in the other factions that actually are still really viable as of today. Will there ever be Void champions in this pool? We don't know. There could be, there might not be. I wouldn't expect them to put things like Taras in this pool, because that's just dumb. Everyone wants a Taras for Arena. If you come into this mindset and expect you're going to get the best Void Legendary in the game, this is not what this event system is designed for. It is designed for players who have started playing 12 to 18 months ago that are still chasing the Geomancer, that are still chasing the Crearuns. They might throw a Seer in here from time to time. They're still chasing the Allures, even though we just had a guaranteed one. Those types of champions that unlock specific areas of the game that without them you can't really do them. Like, that is what this system is designed for, and I think it's very good for the average player. It's not good for a late game player, because I've been playing all these years, I've done all these fusions, I didn't miss them. If I pull a Brogni, I can +4 Brogni if I want to. You know, I can do that, but generally I don't need these champions. But for the average player, it's a great system. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to summon my Prism on my free-to-play on my main here. We'll see what we get. I don't really care about saving them. It is what it is. But yeah, that's the math breakdown. So as I said, on my main account here, I'd like a King Galkapa if I could get it, or a Creadun the Blue. Those are the 2 that I would really desire, because I don't have them. The rest I've got. So let's see what we get. Summon. Oh, we get an Epic. We get a Melga. That's not great, but it's fine. I mean, it could be worse. We've got an epic roll, right? That's pretty good. Let's go head over to the free-to-play where any of these epics are going to be really good. So I'm on the free-to-play here. We did manage to get the fusion. I'm doing the training events at the moment to basically get the epics made up. But we basically got our first legendary on the free-to-play the other day. We got a Lady of Ireth, even though it wasn't even from a Sacred Shard. I got it from an Ancient Shard, which is totally ironic. As I said, like, there seems to be some sort of biases in the game where newer champions get summoned first. I don't really understand. Like, this account has got 2 Mr. Adidithes, for example. Like, that's a reasonably newer champion. It's got a Lady Ireth as its first legendary. So again, this account will benefit from all of them. I did get a Geomancer on the weekend, so Geomancer's not, he's kind of out, but I would take any champion apart from a 3rd Mr. Adidithe. I do not want a 3rd Mr. Adidithe. Any of the legendaries are really good. And obviously, the rares are not really worth, in my opinion, still. Like, I've got a Tirlac, I've got a Kate. I don't really see any value of an account having these anymore. Maybe for some secret rooms, but generally it's the epics and the legendaries I'm looking for. So let's see what we get out of it. Hopefully it's a legendary. It's an epic. It's a Kellen. Okay. Kellen the Shriek. Actually a good champion in my opinion, because what my account actually lacks, I know you can get an Amiga, is valuable turn meter control champions. And what I mean by valuable is more than just a turn meter control. What's good about Kellen is this A2. The first hit has a 75% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 50%. The second hit has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed. And she gets a Veil on a 3-turn cooldown. You have this really, really big hit here if you can get a lot of debuff stacked up, where it deals a lot of damage. And then you also get a weaken on an A1. So for a boss killing kit, she's very good. You also have this passive where she ignores shields while under a Veil. That's not really relevant. But for the Faction Wars, her plus Dithy pretty much kills a boss, because she controls it with turn meter with a bit of bonus damage for the wave, and he finishes off the waves and kills the boss at the same time. You also get a weaken, so he gives a decreased defense, she does a weaken. These 2 together would basically run any team. It's very, very good with a bit of crowd control. So I'm happy with that. Now, the odds of my free-to-play getting a good epic out of a normal shard is quite hard. Now, I did get lucky with Stagnite and Geomancer, but I also pulled another Wuji, you know? I pulled, if you look at the account, the champions I've got in this account, I got 2 Hoskwals, I got 2 Arminas, I got 2 Wujis, I got a Tanix, I got a a Dark Aethel. I got a Yaga. I haven't got these from the daily logins yet. I've picked them up from summoning. It's just the way that this thing works, right? So actually having a limited pool that I can actually get the good champions, like a Taragi, like a, Fench is really good. A Ruella would be really good. Basilic Priest Ornn can solo a lot of content, right? Don't look at this as a negative system just because these champions are being told by sort of late game players that, they're only the guaranteed. You may not have had enough Sacred Shards for a guaranteed Elva, or a guaranteed Kimi, or a guaranteed Kyoku, right? You may not have had them. You may not have had enough Sacred Shards for the guaranteed Michinaki. I think we've got to give Plarium credit here that they are attempting to fix the issue of too many champions and to give you a better model of being able to get the champions you want. Is it perfect? Of course not. No system is perfect. But is it a good starting point in the direction that we want to go? Absolutely. The more of this is what we need. More ways to get the champions we actually want rather than the champions we already have. And I think for the average player, they probably don't have all of these champions. They're not like my endgame account. They're more like my free-to-play account where they go, do you know what? If I pick up any of these champions, great. That's really going to be good. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know how your Prism summon went. What did you get from your freebie? Everyone gets basically, was it 10, 20 free or 30 free? So everyone basically gets enough to make one summon. Let me know what you got in yours. Hopefully you had the epic or the legendary luck like I did here. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video.